Hi friends, welcome to the third part of solid state chemistry. So if you have not watched the first two parts, do check out the link given in the description box. In the first two parts, we've dealt most of these topics from solid state chemistry, and today we'll be looking at the last two topics, that is structure of solids and defects in solids. Structure in solids. So the first example that I've taken here is the example of rock salt or sodium chloride structure. The first example that we have is that of NaCl, and in NaCl we have cations Na plus ions and anions Cl minus ions. Here in this, the red color ones that are given here are the chloride ions, Cl minus ions. These red color ones are the Cl minus ions, and the green color ones that are given here, they are the Na plus ions, which are the cations. This is how the representation is. Now we can say that the chloride ions, Cl minus, my anions, they take up an FCC structure, that is they are present at every corner and at the face centers. You can, if you look the structure, you can find that there is one atom here. These are at the corners or at every corner and also at the face centers. I'm having the chloride ions, and my Na plus ions, they occupy, my Na plus ions would occupy the octahedral voids. They would be occupying the octahedral voids. So this is the first thing. So we know that this is like earlier we had seen in our part 1 video that like if we join these faces, different faces, like if we join all these faces with the top, this face also we are joining together, like this means, and let us join with the bottom face also. There is one atom at the bottom also, we are joining that also like this. So with this atom and this atom, so all these atoms we are joining means at the center we are getting an octahedra. We are getting an octahedra at the center, and at that center we are having a sodium ion. So at the octahedral void we have sodium ion. This is how the structure would look like for sodium chloride. And then to talk about number of atoms in the unit cell, this is a unit cell representation that is given here as picture. So to talk about the number of atoms in the unit cell, so the second point, the first thing was we told about where they're present. Let us now talk about the number of atoms. Now if you look at the number of atoms, you can find that the number of atoms means every chlorine atom is present at the corners, and there are 8 corners, so 8 into 1 by 8, that's 1. And face centers means 6 faces are there, and each face gives a contribution of 1 by 2, so it is 6 into 1 by 2, that's 3. So totally it is 1 plus 3, that's 4. So for chloride ions we have to take equal to 8 into 1 by 8 plus 6 into 1 by 2, that is 4. Now if I consider the case of Na plus ions, where all they are present at the center, right at the center we have one atom, so that would be one as such. The octahedral void, the one at the octahedral void that is shown here in the picture, that would be one. And the next one is, where is the next one? At every edges, not at the corner, they're at the edges. Corner means corner atoms are shared by 8 cubes, 8 different unit cells, but edge atoms at the edges are shared by 4 cubes. 4 different cubes would be sharing that edge atom, right? 1, 2, then the top 2 also. That is how it would be sharing. One this unit cell, the next adjacent unit cell, that cell on the top and the cell at the bottom would be sharing one edge atom. Likewise, we have 12 H atoms here. So each of it would be giving a contribution of 1 by 4 only. So that's how we have here, it is 12 into 1 by 4. And that is again 3 plus 1, that's 4. So we have 4 chlorine atoms, and we have 4 sodium atoms also. So I can write this stoichiometry. To be 1:1. This is this stoichiometry can be written to be 1:1 for a sodium chloride crystal. If I take the structure of sodium chloride, this is how the stoichiometry would look like. Also, to talk about their coordination number, the third thing that I can do is I can talk about the coordination number. To talk about the coordination number, we can see that since the sodium ions are in octahedral voids, each sodium ion, I have a sodium ion. Each sodium ion, it is surrounded by 6 chlorine atoms. So coordination number of sodium is 6. Similarly, if I take the other chloride ions also, when I consider the other part of this other cubes also, I can find that each of my chloride ion is also surrounded by 6 sodium atoms. Each sodium atom is surrounded by 6 chlorine atoms. Similarly, each chlorine atom is also surrounded by 6 sodium atoms, vice versa also. So, for even for both for Na plus and for Cl minus, the coordination number is 6. And the last thing that we have to do is coordination number is 6 means it is octahedral, and we can also say that it is an octahedral structure by finding out the radius ratio. So let us look at the radius ratio. We know that what is the radius ratio? Radius ratio is radius of cation divided by radius of anion. Now radius of the sodium atom is approximately 0.95, and the radius of the anion is that is chloride ions what we have, it is approximately 1.81, and when we take the ratio, this value comes out to be approximately 0.52. And we know that if the radius ratio value lies between 0.414 to 0.732, then it is at the coordination number is 6. Here we are getting a radius ratio value which is 0.52, and it is in between this range. So there also we can say that the coordination number for sodium chloride is 6. Here, this is the structure of sodium chloride. So the previous example that you saw was an AX type crystal, sodium chloride that we saw, or AgCl, calcium chloride. Such examples, they fall in the category of AX type. Now we're going to look at the next type, that is an AX2 type. An example for this that has been taken here is a calcium fluoride, and it is also called a fluoride structure. Similarly, we have antifluoride structure also, which is sodium oxide, Na2O. Now, calcium fluoride is taken here in CaF2. Now, here in this, we can say that the red color ones that I have is the F minus ions, and the blue colors that I have is the Ca2 plus ions. Now, so the first thing is, where are they present? All the Ca2 plus ions are present in the CCP or the FCC in the cubic close packing with at the corners and at the face centers. Corners and face centers are taken up by, it is present at the corner and also face centers, this Ca2 plus ions. Now the next thing that we have is our anion F minus ions. They are present at the tetrahedral voids. They are present at the tetrahedral voids. They are present at the tetrahedral voids. And see, these are the tetrahedral voids. Like here we have means these 4 atoms. If I join this atom, this blue atom, this atom here that I have, and we already saw in our first video that how we can mark the tetrahedral void. So if I join all this, I would get a tetrahedral void here. That's exactly what we get. At that void, we are having one F minus anion. My anion is placed there. Okay, now next step that we have to do is we have to calculate the number of atoms or number of atoms. So that's my second step, number of atoms per unit cell I'm calculating. And for Ca2 plus ions, it is, we can see that it is CCP form. Corners means 8 into 1 by 8. Face centers means 6 into 1 by 2. So totally I will have 4. The value for this would be 4. And for F minus ions, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 voids are there, tetrahedral voids are there in total. So atoms are present. So the 8 atoms are present. They are not being shared by any other ones in the tetrahedral voids are present as such for just that unit cell. It is not shared with any other unit cell. So I can write the value as such. 8 atoms are there. F minus atoms are there present in the unit cell. So this, I can say that their stoichiometry would become, stoichiometry can be given as 1:2. that is 4 atoms of calcium ions and 8 atoms of fluoride ions. So totally their stoichiometry is found to be 1:2. Okay. Now the next one that we have to consider is their coordination number. The third part that we have to consider is the coordination number. So let's look for their coordination number. Coordination number of first is Ca2 plus ions, and then we can also look for F minus ions. So F minus ions and Ca2 plus ions, we look at their coordination number. Look at Ca2 plus ions. Ca2 plus means, where are our Ca2 plus? The blue color ones. If you look at this blue color ones here that I have, it is surrounded by this atom, then this one atom here, this one fluorine atom, and similarly from the other unit cell also would have atoms like this. So from there also it would be surrounding. So all together we would be having 8 as the coordination number for Ca2 plus. The Ca2 plus around calcium ions would be surrounded by 8 fluoride ions. But my fluoride ions, they would be surrounded by 4 Ca2 plus ions. So 8 would be the coordination number for Ca2 plus and 4 would be the coordination number for F minus. This is the structure of for calcium fluoride structure. Okay. Finally, let's look at the defects in solids. So we know that solids, they have regular structure, but despite having a regular structure, none of the systems is completely perfect. It would have some amount of defect in it. Now, this defect or imperfection in solids can either be along a line, it can be a line defect, or it can be a point defect. So we can have two types. One can be, defects can either be a line defect or it can be a point defect. These are the two main types of defects that we have. So line defect means it is along any particular line. Along a line, we are having some defect. Point defect means around a particular point, we are having some defect in the crystal. Now, I've provided a picture here. You can see that we have A plus ions and B minus ions equally perfectly arranged. This is a regular perfect arrangement that we have. But sometimes, not sometimes, always in every crystal, some defect would be there. Either an A plus ion would be missing or a B minus ion would be missing, or they would be delocated from their position. They would take up some other interstitial positions, or some extra ions can be present, and various such possibilities are there. You would not get a perfect structure as given in the figure. So this point defects that we have along a point, the defect that we have can be classified mainly to stoichiometry defect, impurity defect, and non-stoichiometric defect. In stoichiometric defect means that the ratio, we have cations, we have anions. So even when the defect, before the defect is present and after the defect is present also, the ratio of cations and anions, it does not change. The stoichiometry of the complex remains the same. That is stoichiometric defect. And non-stoichiometry means it's the exact opposite. That ratio varies. We have a difference. Some amount of cation or anion would be completely missing, or an extra cation or anion would be present. So overall, stoichiometry of the compound would be different. It has varied after the presence of that defect. And impurity defect means some amount of impurity is present in our compound. Some other ions, like we are having the sodium chloride, apart from Na plus and Cl minus ions, we are having some other ions also. So that can give rise to the impurity defect. And the stoichiometric defect that we have, it can be divided into two types, that is Schottky defect and Frenkel defect. And non-stoichiometric defects are further divided into metal excess defect and metal deficiency defects. These are the two classifications. This metal excess defect, again, it's classified into metal excess defect can be due to an anionic vacancy or due to a cationic excess. And metal deficiency can also be due to a cationic vacancy or it can be due to an anionic excess. So these are the different possible point defects in a crystal. We'll look at one by one. This is the first type classification we have. This is stoichiometric defects. In stoichiometric defects, one that we have here, this is a Schottky defect that we have here is a This is a Schottky defect, and the one that we have on the right is Frenkel defect. These are the two defects. Let us look at what these two defects are. So in Schottky defect, what happens is equal number of cations and anions are missing from the system. Same number of cations and anions would be missing from the system in case of a Schottky crystal. That is, a cation and an anion is missing, and this kind of defect occurs in compounds having the condition high coordination number, like the case of we have examples like sodium chloride and cesium chloride are two examples, like in such molecules where they're having high coordination number values, and also size of cation and anion should be almost comparable. Size is approximately comparable sizes for cation and anion should be there. So such compounds would form this Schottky defect. And as a result of Schottky defect, what happens to the density? We know the density is mass by volume. Since volume is not changing as such, but what we can see is that mass, there is a variation in the mass. Because two atoms or two ions are missing, the mass of the overall compound decreases because of some vacancies. Mass decreases, therefore density would decrease. Mass would decrease, therefore this density would decrease. This is Schottky defect. And now coming to Frenkel defect, this is formed by low coordination compounds. This is low coordination number, compounds having low coordination number, like the example of AgBr or AgCl. So such things would form Frenkel defect. And here cationic size, the Ag plus the cationic size we have would be smaller than the anionic size, like the Br minus or Cl minus that I have, that would have a larger size, and my cation would have a smaller size. And what happens in this defect is that one of the cations would be misplaced from its own position. It would move from all the forces, various forces of attraction that it is having, that would be broken, and it can move itself or shift itself. The position can be shifted to an interstitial site. And what are these interstitial sites? Those vacant sites we have, like we have these sites here in between those cations and anions, we are having those vacant spaces. Those are the interstitial sites, and my cation can move to these interstitial sites. And cation should be smaller, so only if they're small in size, they can move towards these interstitial sites. And in this one, density, there is no change. There is no change in density. Density remains the same. There is no change because mass is not changing. Nothing is moving out of the system. All the atoms or all the ions, positive and negative ions, are there already in the system. Nothing is moving out of the system. So the density, there is no change. This is Frenkel defect, and generally there is tendency for a solid to have the Schottky defect greater. The Schottky defect possibility is greater than Frenkel defect because the energy needed to create a Schottky defect is lesser. So lesser energy is needed means it would be more stable, more preferred form. So the energy required to form the Schottky defect is lesser compared to the energy required to form a Frenkel defect. So in that case, so Schottky defects are more favored over Frenkel defects. Okay, this is about stoichiometric defects. Come to the non-stoichiometric defect part. In non-stoichiometric, there can be metal excess and metal deficiency. So this is the metal excess part. Again, the metal excess part that we have is also, we saw that it is divided in metal excess can also be divided further into due to anionic vacancy or due to cationic excess. The first case that is given here is due to an anionic vacancy. This is an example for an anionic vacancy, and what we have here is a cationic excess. Now, in an anionic vacancy, what happens is one of the anions, B minus ions in this image, the anion would be missing. One of the anion would be missing from the system. So it is similar to the Schottky defect, but in Schottky, both cation and anions are missing. So two ions would be missing, but here only an anion is missing in the system. And when an anion is missing, which means that a positive ion would be in excess. My cation would be in positive, ion would be in excess. And to maintain the overall electrical neutrality, to have that electrical balance, charge balance, an electron would be present there. This electron that is present here is termed as an F center. It is called an F sender, and this electron is responsible for the colors of various substances. The colors, it can absorb energy when heated. This electron can absorb energy. It can go to the higher level, and when it returns back to the lower level, it emits different radiations. In F centers, they provide the colors. Now here, this type of defect is shown when we have like sodium chloride is exposed to sodium vapors, or potassium chloride is exposed to potassium vapors and things like that. So such systems would give me this anionic vacancy. And coming to the cationic vacancy, it is similar to a Frenkel defect, that is, but the thing is that here none of the existing ions are moving to the interstitial site. We have a cation in the interstitial site. It's an excess cation. It's not a cation which is already present in the system. An extra cation is present in the interstitial site. Apart from the normal structure, an extra cation from outside would come and sit in the interstitial site. And to maintain the overall electrical neutrality, one electron would also come and sit in the interstitial site. So the overall charge can be maintained. Zinc oxide is one type of system which can form this cationic excess defect, and the second type, this cationic excess defect, is little more common compared to the anionic vacancy. Okay. Finally, we have metal deficiency defect. This is metal deficiency defect. It comes under the non-stoichiometry part. This is metal deficiency, and it is of two types. First one is cationic vacancy. We have cationic vacancy here. And on the other side, what we have is an anionic excess. The one that we have is anionic excess. Now, what is cationic vacancy and what is anionic excess? In cationic vacancy, one of the cations would be missing from the crystal system. From the system, one of the cations are missing, but to maintain that electrical balance, to have the electrical neutrality or electrical balance, so one of the cations would have two charges. So here we can see that, if you look at here, you can see that this particular my cation is having +2 charge. It increases charge, so which means that my cations, positive ions, they should have variable valencies. This is one condition. They should have variable valencies. Its charge would vary. Variable valency it should be having. And now this is shown by compounds of transition metals like iron oxide, nickel oxide, iron sulfide. Such compounds are found to show this cationic vacancy. Now coming to the anionic vacancy part, here what happens is an extra anion would come, anionic excess, it's not anionic vacancy, it's anionic excess. So coming to this part, an extra anion would be present in the interstitial site. A B minus ion from outside comes and sits at this interstitial site, and to maintain the electrical neutrality, one of the positive ions should increase its charge to +2. From +1, one of the positive ion increases its charge to +2. Here also variable valency is a needed condition. We should have variable valency, and now this is also shown by transition compounds, is expected to be shown by transition compounds, but the problem is that B minus ions are quite larger in size, and practically, it is not possible for large B minus ions to occupy these small interstitial sites. Therefore, this anionic excess concept is considered to be a theoretical concept. We do not have any examples as such. It is considered to be a theoretical concept. So, these are the different defects that we have in solids, and especially point defects. So, that's it. Hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much.